I've been in your waters. I know I can for sure. I've never been so close before. It's one way or the other.
Hey guys, what's up? Rich here with another motor review for you. Today we have the iFlight Xing 1850 2206 kV. This is the one with the red top and the gray bottom, and it's coming in at 1850 kV. And this is sort of the entry-level 6S capable iFlight Xing motor. And as you may or may not know, I'm a pretty big fan of the Xings. I love them. They're really durable. They're relatively inexpensive, and they fly really, really well and really smooth. And lately I've been thinking a lot about switching all my gear over to 6S, which I'll do another video on that in the future. You'll see after this. But this was one of the first 6S motors that I tested. I tested a couple other Xings also, including the 1700s, as well as the confetti ones, but I'll talk about them in a future video. So I initially picked up a set of these to put on my 6-inch long-range build, and they did all right. They didn't have quite enough zip to them for that big of a build. I felt like they needed a stator size like 24 or something versus the 22 on these. So I didn't feel like my 6-inch build had quite enough power for all the weight, because 6-inch, 7-inch arms, got GPS, running a Hero 7. So it's a pretty weighty quad, and the 2206 just wasn't cutting it. So I went ahead and upgraded them to something else I'll talk about later. But I took the set of these and put them on my Freestyle and started running some smaller 6-cell batteries just to see how it compared to 4-cell and how the motors performed in general. And I'm very pleased, to be honest. They're not a whole lot different than the 4-cell, the 2450 Xings. They feel a little bit underpowered for the kV that they're rated at. However, they are extremely smooth, extremely dependable from the bottom to the top of the power band, right? So I always know exactly what it's going to do based on where I put the stick. Versus with some of the bigger stator sizes that I've tried, they're a little bit, it's a little bit harder to determine what the quad's going to do when you set the throttle. Whereas these are extremely predictable in that respect. I'm going to run through the specs here I got pulled up on the computer and tell you what iFlight says about them. Unfortunately, this particular one is not on the Mini Quad Test Bench site yet, so I don't have any performance metrics on it. I'm just going to tell you about my experience and, you know, how I feel about them, show you some flight footage. So according to iFlight, they have a 1,783 gram thrust. And based on the weight, they have a power to weight ratio of 2.22-ish grams. Input voltage is 3 to 6S with a max continuous current of right at 30 amps. Takes a standard prop shaft, though one of my chief complaints about these Xings in general is that the prop shaft is actually a bit longer than it needs to be for the types of props that we're typically running. I mean, look at that. That's an extra gram or two right there just in prop shaft that doesn't need to be there. I understand that there are different size props and all this and all that, but this is kind of the standard. So maybe we could think about making the shaft a little shorter. 20 gauge wires. Obviously I sent mine because I run ESCs on my arms. And lastly, the weight comes in right about 31.5-ish grams with the wires on. So maybe, you know, 30 to 31 grams when you cut them this short. So they're a little bit on the heavy side compared to some of the other ones, but, you know, they make up for that in how they fly, in my opinion. They come with obviously your 4 mounting bolts and a prop nut. Negatives I found so far. I did have one. Now, to be fair, I don't know if it was the motor or the ESC that went out, but I lost the whole arm for absolutely no reason. The ESC was burned, the motor was burned. My guess is there was a short in the motor that, some sort of vibration. I didn't hit anything. I was just flying along and fell out of the sky. So I don't know if that was the motor or not. Could have been a manufacturing thing. I mean, they're mass producing these things. They're pretty cheap. There are going to be failures in the manufacturing process. That's just the name of the game. I think I already talked about the length of the shaft, which I'm not a huge fan of. And the final thing that I'm not in love with on these is I don't know whether it's the shaft or the nut they send, but I seem to strip a lot of them out. I mean, I'm changing props like, I don't know, on average once per flight session, maybe twice. So these come on and off 3 to 4 times a week, I would say on average. And yeah, they all just get torn up like really quick. Again, I don't know whether it's like this aluminum prop nut or whether it's the shaft itself. There are some marks on this shaft. They're not too bad, but yeah, so that's another negative. iFlight should really consider, taking a look at that if they're going to keep manufacturing these. And other than that, I mean, yeah, there's not a whole lot else to say. They fly fantastic for the money. I mean, they retail right about $18 US, which is coming in, depending on how you look at it, $2 to $10 cheaper than any premium motor, and they fly as good as any other premium motor I've ever flown. And they're quite durable, which is one of the reasons that I have really committed myself to flying the Xings, because I mean, I've flown half a dozen, maybe 10 different types of motors over the past year, and these are the only ones that really stand up to the sort of abuse that we put them through. So, not a paid endorsement in any way, shape, or form. I do love them. I'm going to continue to spend my own hard-earned dollars on them because I like them and they work great. And yeah, that's just about all I have to say. And let's cue up some flight footage. You can see what they look like. Now, keep in mind that this footage was with, fully loaded quad Hero 7 heavy mounts. Yeah, I'm not really sure there's a whole lot else to say. I do have the confetti ones. I'll do a review and a better comparison to these. What I really wanted to compare these to was mainly 4S versus 6S version of essentially the same motor, and they're pretty comparable. I mean, they're great. I don't know what else to say. Yeah, pick up a set. They're cheap. You're coming in at less than $80 for a full set of these babies. Highly recommend you try them out. Let's cue up some flight footage, and I hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you later. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing and the things I'm working on. Got some really cool stuff coming out soon. I'm going to try to do a few more of these tech sessions in the next few months. And yeah, see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Cheers.